Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to give you an update on some of the seeds that we showed you in the last video. Here are some right here. These are from this year's growing season. These ones over here are a bit older, last year, a few years older, and so forth. So we'll go ahead and give you a more in-depth tour of them and show you what we have.
Yeah, here's a bunch of small cactus. They're grown in this bench. They're under 50% shade cloth. And then I put plastic over them to make sure they get warm enough during the day. Some of these are 10 years old and some are just a few months old. Eventually, I'll plant them up and they'll move into where the specimens are. But it takes a while. Yeah, I grow them under these plastic to try to get them a little more heat. Because in the desert, I bet it's already getting towards 100. It's April now. Here, maybe it's going to get 75. So, give them a little bit of heat. This is UV plastic. It lasts a lot longer. This is the Corypanthas. They're like a month and a half old. They don't need plastic over them anymore. They just need a little bit of protection. You don't want them to dry out completely, but they're getting spines, so they're almost going to be treated like mini adult plants. Now, put in this box. These ones they were sown on March 25th, so that's not even quite a month old, but they grow fast. These are Astrophytum coelensis. They also rot super easy. I'm pleased none of these rotted. Probably because I used a different soil, sand from the desert, and it's got a better, obviously it's keeping the fungus away. Also, they're not going to get plastic because, like I said, they rot so easy. And they also come up within days after planting. Big seeds. So here's a pot where not that many came up, but they're also not under plastic. They're getting spines. This is a Mammillaria, Roseocentra. So they were planted like a month ago. And this pot, unfortunately, is the only one that had some fungus. That's why there's this white stuff here. I think on the last video you showed me dumping a bunch of root tone on it. So the fungus stopped. I dried them out. These are Lophoras. And they're getting spines, and I think they're no more fungus. Anyways, I'm careful with the water. You don't want it to be completely dry. You can actually bottom water them at this point to keep the water off the top of them. And just make sure they don't dry out, but you don't want them soaking wet. And I think these might be rot prone, or some fungus got in the pot right over in this section, but it's gone now. So this is a mixed pot. I put a bunch of different plants in here. I put Mammillaria pectinatus, Epithelantha bockii, Mammillaria herrerae, and Mammillaria lenta. I just kind of did a smorgasbord. They're pretty small. I'm probably going to keep the plastic on during the day and take it off at night, because you can see they're still coming up and they're very small, and I don't want them to dry out. So these will get some plastic. So they're going to stay under plastic during the day until they get a little bit bigger and until the germination stops. But you have to be very careful they're not too wet, because you don't want rot to set in. By trying to get the last few seeds to germinate, you don't want to jeopardize the ones that are already up, because it's a mixed pot. It's got all different kinds of, old Mexican, same kind of cultivation dry than some other cactus, but they'll have plastic for a little while longer. Just like, this is the way I put it. I just put a rubber band over it. Some people put them in an entire baggie. Some people keep their plants soaking wet. I've never had luck doing that. So here's another pot that I started Mammillaria lentas on the 17th of March, and nothing sprouted. I dried them off, wetted them again, nothing sprouted. So then I put a few different kinds of cactus in there, Mammillaria albicoma and some Echinocactus texensis, which are going to get bigger, and then everything started sprouting. This big one's Echinocactus texensis. These other ones are either Mammillaria lentis or Mammillaria albicoma. And I even took one of the Astrophytum coilensis seeds out of the one pot we just saw that was drying out, and I stuck it in here because this is going to be wetter because it's still germinating, and it shot up right there. And this is a weed. You can use these little weeds to read the soil's moisture. When this weed, as long as it's like this, you got soil moisture. When this thing wilts away, you know the pot is too dry. This is going to get plastic on it too. So this is a pot. These seeds are Pediocactus simpsonii, and they're a little trickier to germinate. I put these in the ground on April 6th, and there are a few germinating. I can't pick them out with the naked eye, but when I put my eye loop on, I did see some germinating. Maybe that's one there. But these ones, they need a bigger day-night temperature fluctuation because they're from the mountains in Colorado. They're a more high altitude plant. They can actually take snow. So I leave them out at night. It gets about 50 here still. And during the day, I was putting them out in full sun and heating the pot up to probably to 100. And starting to get some germination. So I'll keep the plastic on them during the day and for at least another 2-3 weeks until I think the germination is complete. We'll keep an eye on these guys, and always, of course, look for fungus. I don't see any yet. You know, when you expose, I don't microwave the soil, and when you expose them to air like this, spores are going to get in there. So what you're hoping for is you have a good balance, you know, kind of like why people drink acidophilus, whatever. You want to have a good balance to keep the bad guys away from overrunning your pot and ruining everything. Okay, they're hard to see. There's one there, and I think there's another one over here. So they're just starting to germinate. I put quite a few in here, so we'll have to see how they do. Plastic will stay on them for a while. They can't dry out at this stage. This is a pot. These are hard for me to germinate. These are called the Echinocactus horizontaloneus. Nothing's germinated yet. I even sanded these seeds. I think I showed that in another video. So we'll keep the plastic on them. And what I do with these, I want them to be hot. So I'm just going to leave them out in the sun, and hopefully they get 100 degrees. They're from the hardcore desert, and they need heat. And at night, they could go down to 60, 70 degrees. And we'll see if we can't get some germination. I usually don't get a lot of these to germinate. For instance, this pot I did last year, I had one germinate right there. And this is a bunch of Ariocarpus. They just come up. Usually if the seeds are fresh, you don't have any trouble with germination. Now, they are rot prone, but germination usually isn't a problem. So here's a pot that's only 1 year old, and it's one of the smorgasbord pots I like to do. It's going to have, I started out trying to grow Mammillaria Humboldtii from way back in March of 2022, and I think I got 1 or 2 to sprout. And then not wanting to waste the real estate, I planted a bunch more plants in April. I've got some Epimicromeris, Epibochii. I've got a Ariocarpus bravoiensis, so these ones, and some Lopos here, I think. They're all kind of still coming out of dormancy, so they're sort of small and hard to see, but they're all alive. Cactus can take dry weather in the winter. When they're small, you don't have to do that, I guess, but that's the way I grow them. So they're all middle miniatures. Yeah, that one there's the Ariocarpus. You can tell the tubercles already starting to form. That's a Bochii, you can tell by the spines. That's a Micromeris, and I think that's a Humboldtii Mammillaria. This is another smorgasbord pot with not too many. We've got an Ariocarpus, probably a Fisheratus. We've got a Mammillaria herrerae. These sometimes don't germinate that good. And Epimicromeris. I throw the Epimicromeris, I get so many seeds that I'll throw them in a pot, and when they start germinating, and often, I don't know why, gets these stubborn ones to germinate. It doesn't always work. but at least I'll have a pot with more than 2 plants in it. And then these ones I think got too dry. They're very stunted, but they're still alive. We're going to water them since we have warm weather now, and hopefully they'll perk up and start growing. So I said earlier, these are Roseocentra. They could be Roseocentra or Sanchez Mejerade. I put them both in here. They might be Sanchez Mejerade. That's why I'm drying the pot out. I don't want them to rot. This is from 2015. They're miniatures and they grow slow. And their seeds are hard to get. The seeds ripen way inside the plant, and when you pull them out, often you'll destroy the plant. So they're sort of valuable. So I'll just let these 5 grow away without any risk to continuing to try to get any more germination. I don't want to risk the ones that are already up. This is another plant that grows slow for me, and so I have a little bit of trouble getting them to grow fast. I'm not sure why. These ones I pollinated to get more seeds. This is called Turbinocarpus pseudopectinatus. Here's some smaller ones. This is an imposter. That's some other kind of Turbinocarpus. But they have a real pretty flower, and they're definitely one of the more rare, interesting cactus that I grow. These are Epithelantha gregii. This older one here is from 2013, the seeds, a long time ago, and these are from last year, 2022. I sprouted them in June, so the weather was a little warmer. And they're just coming out of dormancy. We're going to get some warm weather now, so I'll be able to water them, get them growing again. These are both Astrophytum coilensis. These ones here are a couple years old. These are the ones we just saw. So yeah, once they get up, they're not too much trouble at all. They just grow slowly and steadily, and the whole rot prone seems to go away once they get past the seedling stage. So here's one of my favorite Astrophytum coilensis. These ones I grew from seed 1994, and then I have a few of them, and from these I can collect seeds and continue growing them. So yeah, long enough you'll get some nice big plants. These are some of the slowest growing cactus I have. It just doesn't get quite hot enough. These are from 2014, and this one, these older ones, are probably from 2008. Now they're darkish reddish. That means they're getting enough sun, probably a lot of sun. If you want to grow them faster, you give them less sun and more moisture, and they seem to grow faster. I don't do that just because I like them to get a great big root, and I'm just afraid of rot. But yeah, they come up easy though. The Astrophytum fissuratus, they germinate, especially if it's hot. It has to be hot. You can get pretty good germination on them, and then they just very slowly grow. That's why they're called a living rock. So this is fissuratus. They can get pretty big. I did not grow this one from seed, obviously. I bet it's older than me, and I'm pretty old. But you can see, form seed pods. I pollinated this. It should stick up seed pods by July, August. They'll come out. It takes a whole year to ripen right in the middle of the plant. They sprout pretty easily, and they grow quite slowly. I think if it was hotter, I could get them to grow faster, but it is what it is. Yeah, this big boy. Texas and down into Mexico. These are Mammillaria roseocentra and Epithelantha boekii. These are from 2015. They're miniatures, slow growers. Here's a pot from 2018, kind of a smorgasbord showing some different slow-growing Mexican cactus. This is Escobaria minima, Epithelantha gregii. These are Epithelantha micromeris. And this here's Mammillaria lenta. These are very slow-growing mammillarias. You can see they're all off at the same time. This is their growth. Curiously, this one's grown the fastest, and they're not fast growers. Here's another mixed Turbinocarpus pot from 2018. These flat ones here are Turbinocarpus alonzii. They have very small seeds. This is a Turbinocarpus klinkerianus or Schmidtkianus, Klinkerianus schwartzii. It's got a bunch of names. Pretty plant, big white flower. These are Turbinocarpus valdizianus, these three guys here. And this is Turbinocarpus pseudo macrochili. They're little miniatures. So there's kind of a Turbinocarpus mixed pot showing slow growth. 2018, what's that, like four years. So hopefully I'll get them to start growing here now that it's spring. But none of them get very big. These are Epithelantha bochii from 2016. They're doing well. These grow well for me. I think they like my alkali soil. These slow but steady growers. Germination is not that great, and they never produce that many seeds. But what seeds they do produce, I try to grow them. So here's another pot, mostly Turbinocarpus. This one here is Yarnigii. They're pretty easy to grow. And this is that Turbinocarpus, I'm just going to call it Schwartzii. It's the same one with the long spines. They produce a lot of seeds, and they're pretty easy to grow. And right here, I put this in here as a tiny Mammillaria herrerae. They're slow growers, but he kind of found a home there. They'll be in this pot for quite a while probably because they grow so slow. Yeah, so when you grow them from seeds, sometimes the species get all mixed up. Here we have a Ariocarpus cochlebianus. It's a miniature. An Epilantha micromeris, a Turbinocarpus valdizianus, the albiflora, and a Mammillaria pectinifera, all growing happily in the same pot. And they'll probably stay in here for quite a few years. Here's some Mammillaria microlethae from 2020. So they're, what, almost 2-3 years old. Slower growing than I thought they would be, but they're going to wake up here pretty soon from dormancy, and they grow into a nice, neat spine little Mammillaria. And there's the spelling. I probably butchered the name. So here's some Escobaria duncanii from the exact same time as those last Mammillaria microlethaes. And you can see they're early growers. So I think they're from more northern, maybe from Arizona. And you can see they're already getting growth while it's been, in the 50s at night. So I think these are, because they're from the USA part of North America, they're going to be burst growers. They're going to grow in the spring and maybe in the fall, and I bet they go dormant in the summer. And I bet they're very rot prone. But yeah, you can see they're already picking up growth earlier than some of the deeper in the desert in Mexico cactus. These are Corypantha pseudoradians. I got these seeds from Mesa Gardens, and I sprouted them same time as the other ones, June 20th, 2020. So they're what, like almost over 2 years old, and I think they're just starting to grow. I'll start watering them a little bit more now that the weather is getting warmer. But there they are. And this is another Corypantha, Maize tabla, from 2020, and they're just starting to grow. I don't think these are that hard to grow. I've never grown them before, so we'll see. And sometimes I do try South American cactus. These are from 2020. These are two Rebudias here, and this is Lobivia densispina. So they seem to grow a little faster than some of the Mexican miniatures, but probably not any faster than some of the like the Faro cactus or some of the other Mexican cactus. But I bet they would like a little bit more peat moss in the soil, but they're going to have to put up with my high pH. But we'll see how they do. That's an interesting little plant. Here's two pots. They're a couple years old. You can see they're both sown at the same time. You can see not all cactus grow at the same rate. In here we have Epithelanthas, and here we have Echinocerius. So yeah, some cactus grow faster than others. And some cactus, even though they're many years old, this is Turbinocarpus valdizianus. Here's some small ones from last year. And here's one from a long time ago. They're never going to get big. But they're really cool, and the good thing about not getting big is you don't run out of space as fast. And I can produce my own seeds. And they sprout very well. 100% germination if the seeds are fresh. And this got some pods there. This is one of the purple flowering kind. Just to show how slow Mammillaria herrerae grows, these are from 2011, and they're still pretty small. But yeah, they're a cool plant. Seeds are hard to get. They germinate sporadically, but once they're up and growing, they're really not that hard to grow. Not the way I grow them. They can take a lot of heat too. Another extremely slow growing cactus, at least for me. This is called Mammillaria albiflora, sprouted in the year 2013. Germination was no problem. A lot of them came up, and then they just decided to grow very slowly. So here they are, growing away. This is a Mammillaria pectinifera, and I think I tried to pollinate it, and if it's going to make a seed pod, you can see it pulls deep into the body of the plant, and it will form seeds in there, and you have to use great skill with tweezers to try to get the seeds out without damaging the plant. These are another neat plant. They germinate pretty easy if you get seeds, and then they get a little tricky when they get older. Very rot prone, and I think they like to be a little bit warmer than some of the more northern growing cactus.